Thank you very much, Mr. Ambrose Ekaju, for taking us through the ad hoc committee report that was concluded in 2018 and brought in the caretakers. And now I would like to invite the caretaker managers to take us through their report, and we move to another agenda activity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good morning. I think it's still morning. Good afternoon, everyone. My apologies. As a point of concern, Madam Chair, I think we're seated a bit too closely. If some space can be created amongst you in view of COVID, I feel obliged just to say it, or at least put on your masks. Those of you that can, I kindly ask. Please social distance, COVID is real. A space over here, for those of you that can, you can still be able to see. Well, at least we told you. Ladies and gentlemen, I feel extremely honored to present the Caretakers Report on behalf of the team that was assigned to this task. I feel that we are at a turning point in the society as we are holding this special general meeting under a new normal. I ask that as these reports are presented to you, you be forward-looking. We assign ourselves tasks to ensure that the mistakes of the past are not repeated, and that we can all work together to ensure that the society grows. Madam Chair, we were appointed, as you said, caretakers of UPRS on 29th July 2019 to assist the regulator in furtherance of its investigations into the allegations of mismanagement of the CEO. That followed also a suspension of the CEO and the compliance manager of the CMO, who have now since resigned. In this report, we're providing a summary of the activities of our undertaking and our findings during the administration of us as caretaker. Madam Chair, the broader objective of our appointment was to investigate the causes of poor performance of the CMO and devise strategies for its growth. The findings of our investigations were submitted to URSB in a draft report dated 2nd December 2019, pardon me, and a final report that is here with us. Briefly, the findings of that report are that Mr. James Wassler, Mr. Dominic Matovu played a formidable and indelible role in the establishment and growth of UPRS and the promotion of copyright in Uganda. That is written all over the institution documents law. However, under their management, UPRS has not been operated in a compliance with the legal requirements, and more importantly, the Companies Act and the Copyrights and Neighboring Rights Act. In this regard, our findings, among others, are that the board composition elected on the basis of regional representation is not consistent with the company's articles of association, in other words, the constitution. The auditors of the company's books were not validly appointed, as they were neither approved by the URSB and no minutes or resolutions of a general meeting were available to us to show that they had been so appointed. The audit reports and expenditures of the CMO were not also approved by URSB. The financial statements of the CMO were suspect, as they were neither signed by the directors of the CMO or approved by any board meeting. The royalty distributions were also suspect or poorly accounted for, as recipients of the money did not sign for these monies. Lastly, the loopholes in the CMO's register, as there appear to be multiple registration, members aged over 100 years, children artists without guardianship orders, deceased members whose royalties were being handled without letters of administration. So in the findings of the caretaker administration are consistent with the findings of the ad hoc committee. We also established that the CMO has enormous financial potential with a capacity to rake in revenues on over 10 billion in royalties within a period of 24 to 36 months, and probably going up to 100 billion within 5 years. The current board, however, lacks the minimum and required leadership skills and competence to steer UPRS to that potential. The board in particular demonstrated no knowledge of basic principles of corporate governance and statutory requirements for the CMO. While staff appear to be well-trained in technical aspects of copyright administration management, they lacked the required leadership and management skills. While some of them have some basic knowledge of copyright law, they were exceptionally weak on the statutory compliance required by the CMO under the Companies Act and the Copyrights and Neighboring Rights Act. We also found that there were regulatory weaknesses on the part of URSB on supervision of the CMO. Administrative activities with credit in keeping the CMO afloat during the administration. We took over this administration on the 29th of July and managed to keep it open and functioning, as is evidenced today. We found only 7 million shillings on that account. Today, I think as of, we'll show demonstrate, we'll probably have about 160 million or probably less with the expenditures of today. Now, this is not a matter to take for granted because of the high risk of corporate collapse in instances of forceful hostile takeovers. The staff here were particularly distraught by what they called an ambush of our appointment. However, save for 2 resignations in addition to the ones already mentioned above, the rest of the team still remains intact. Despite our financial and operational limitations, UPRS managed to participate in the Africa Copyrights Day, 13th September 2019, by preparing and releasing a short documentary of the future of UPRS. We also found the payments of royalties and distributions going on at the time of appointment and allowed that process to go on without interruption for strategic reasons. We could not stop it, just safe so that we can understand what's going on. Last of all, we provided logistical support to URSB enforcement that saw an increase in our collections, which enabled the business to survive. These enforcements were also used to stress test the process and gauge the efficiency of these operations. They were consequently suspended in November 2019 after making our findings. Business planning. We have prepared and are proposing a 2-year strategic plan and budget for the organizational change and restructure of UPRS. This plan specifically seeks to improve efficiency and transparency in the CMO operations and restore credibility among members and stakeholders. As such, the plan places emphasis on the areas of membership, sensitization, stakeholder engagement, partnerships, rebranding, automation, and governance. While preliminary activities have been initiated as part of the caretaker administration, the plan is subject to approval by the regulator, engagement with all members of the General Assembly on the way forward, and of course, it needs money. Change management. In anticipation of the change management activities of the CMO, we have engaged Uganda Revenue Authority to provide a change management specialist on secondment to UPRS. As part of our preliminary efforts in this regard, the proposed change management specialist, a highly ranking manager at URA, was invited to facilitate a staff retreat in January 2010. Her participation proved useful in reorienting staff to accept and navigate stressful change. Our choice of URA as a partner in this regard is premised on the successful restructures that entity has gone through in the last 15 years. Change managers from URA are also responsible for successful restructures in Kampala City Council Authority and Uganda National Roads Authority. We therefore believe that the entity has the experience that we need here. Governance activities. Change in management and recruitments. We identified and recruited a restructuring consultant to facilitate a transition from the caretakers to the new management. Mr. Mwanda is a former manager of tax investigation unit at URA with over 18 years experience in change management and tax authorities. Mr. Mwanda also worked with IMF, International Monetary Fund, offering tax investigation and audit support to revenue authorities in Swaziland, Zimbabwe, Sierra Leone, and many others. He was recruited on a 6-month renewal contract and has been a valuable addition to our team. We hope he stays with us. We also identified and recruited Ms. Jackie Nankinga, a volunteer legal officer at UPRS in November 2019, to fill the legal skills gap that we found here. It was a bit too boring. Ms. Nankinga is a holder of a Bachelor of Laws degree from Uganda Christian University, Mukono, and a postgraduate diploma in legal practice from Law Development Center. Ms. Nankinga has already completed a WIPO certificate in copyright management and copyright law, which is a solid demonstration of her interest and commitment to her work. Ms. Nankinga was also recruited on a 6-month redeemable contract and has also been a very welcome addition to the team. Lastly, we recruited Ms. Viola Buyungo as a financial consultant accountant to temporarily fill the glaring gap in the accounts function of the CMO. A lot of the things we've been able to pick up from the internal audit report of URSB is because of the lack of accounting skills that we found here. Ms. Boyongo is a holder of a bachelor's business degree from Makerere University and a CPA level 3 qualification from the Institute of Certified Public Administration, accountant. Ms. Boyongo also has 7 years experience in financial management, having worked as a financial manager at Kwese TV, Budo Distillers, and got prior experience from SK, Certified Public Accountants, and GIZ. Until joining the UPRS, the position of accountant was held by Ms. Deborah Nansuga, who held the position in acting capacity since 2014. Ms. Nansuga was initially recruited as a licensing officer and has had formal experience in accounts and financial management. She now reverts to her old position as a licensing officer. Constitutional review. We were required by the regulator to review the CMO's articles of association and propose changes that align with the law. As a result, the regulator initiated widespread changes to the articles and were discussed and reviewed by selected representatives of the board leading groups like UMA, Administered Government Uganda, COVID restrictions, and other members of UPRS. The proposals include the adoption of the company's code of corporate governance, professionalization of the board by raising qualifications for board members and composition. These changes must be approved by the membership, and my co-caretaker, Ms. Rita Birungi, will be taking us through that shortly. Policy and process flow manuals. We also drafted policy manuals that we found most critical but lacking in the operations of the CMO. These manuals must be approved by the AGM, and they include the membership policy, human resource policy, license policy. We also revised the distribution rules and financial rules that we found in place. All the changes in these documents are tracked for ease of reference as we'll be looking through. We recommend the preparation of the enforcement manual for future reference. That we were not able to do. We revised several internal operational processes in order to promote efficiency and accountability. The main areas that were in finance-related activities, including double checking of requisitions, provision of evidence of expenditure, details and requisition requests, procurement processes, reconciliation of petty accounts expenditures. These processes have been greatly improved in the accountability and transparency of the CMO as we speak. Stakeholder engagement. We initiated several stakeholder discussions for the support of UPRS, and among the stakeholders approached among the government entities was UCC, where we sought support for the improvement of the CMO's monitoring function and effective compliance of the broadcasting houses and telecom companies with their obligation to pay royalties. Our engagements with URA and Ministry of Finance were to seek the introduction of blanket levy and lobby for fiscal policy interventions designed for owners of musical rights to earn from their works. The engagements with URA were particularly promising as the entity showed readiness to enter into an MOU with UPRS to provide training for staff and members of UPRS, support monitoring of rights usage, and assist in building partnerships with key government entities. We also engaged with entities like KCCA and Transport Licensing Board with a view to establish working partnerships that can now allow for ease of payment of royalties by users of musical works and reduce expenses in the collections by the CMO. We've also engaged with the Chief Coordinator of Operation Wealth Creation, Ministers of Gender, Labor and Social Development, who are all helpful in giving guidance and assistance to this assignment. Users, we engaged and had positive discussion with leaders and representatives of the Bar Club and Entertainment Owners Association, the National Association of Broadcasters, the main organizers, the said organizations' representatives showed readiness to pay royalties provided UPRS improved transparency in its financial management and veiled more convenient means for assessment and payment of royalties. It is therefore important that UPRS quickly sorts out its affairs so as to earn the credibility of users of its members' works. International stakeholders. We held several meetings with key international stakeholders with a view to obtaining their support for the reorganization of UPRS. We initiated talks with CISAC that led to a visit by the Regional Director Africa in February 2020. Our engagement with WIPO and an undertaking to host a major workshop for Ugandan artists on copyright law management and administration. IFPI and CISAC committed technical support to rejuvenate UPRS and ensure a strong foundation within the transparency, accountability, and governance principles. Other CMOs like Capaso of South Africa, COSON of Nigeria are also potential partners in the growth of a more organized UPRS. Member engagements, we had numerous engagements with over 300 different members of UPRS at different fora. We've participated in several TV, radio, and online interviews that addressed members' questions and updating them on the activities of the caretaker administration. All these engagements were enriching to the assignment, and every effort was made to consider the merits of every concern and proposal made by every member. Logistical support. We received a lot of logistical support from government. Given UPRS's limited resources, we sought to obtain logistical and support for the CMO. We are thankful to NITA, who headed the call and provided 15 computers, 15 workstations, office cabinets, 15 office chairs. NITA also offered UPRS free internet, unlimited server space on which bilateral database with WIPO and IPI now reside, and a meeting space for 35 members, for up to 35 people on one of its facility. NITA also offered to design and manage the UPRS website on its modern infrastructure. The redesigned website is already up and running on the NITA Uganda domain. NITA Uganda also undertook to fully automate UPRS functions. As a result, a membership registration portal was designed and is currently running on the website. We're sorry that there were some glitches, but the intention was to ease registration, and we're doing a lot of work behind the scenes to ensure that it continues, it comes up and continues running. We're thankful for URSB as well for facilitating meetings with members of UPRS, the Ministers of Gender, Labor and Social Welfare. URSB also financed the expenses of member mobilization for this AGM and has also provided data. I hope some people have received data. That process was ongoing as we started the meeting. Private institutions, we also had positive discussions with the United Bank of Africa, MTN, and Leica Mobile. We are thankful to the Chief Executive Officer of Tangerine Leica Mobile, Mr. Vinay Chaudhry, who personally pledged and contributed 10 million shillings towards the cost of organizing this general meeting. We're thankful to United Bank of Africa, who are considering their support to the creative industry through the creation of a financial products that support the industry. Rebranding of UPRS. There's been a lot of talk about this. Some people not welcoming it very quickly, but the negative perceptions that UPRS carries among its members and stakeholders have left it with hardly any brand value to talk of. It became important to address this issue when the tenancy of the office premises on Kira Road were terminated, thereby forcing us to shift the Secretariat to the present premises. The change became even more urgent when we were required to build a new website and shift from the old domain of the website from our old domain to the NITA infrastructure. The old domain, the infrastructure on the website was too old to be hosted on the NITA domain. So we had to quickly step up. Yes, the old website and this infrastructure was too weak to host the member verification portal. And so we had to shift it to the new domain, and that meant that we needed to buy new suits and give the website the new look. So the rebrand had to start. We consulted selected members about the proposed new logo, new fresh look, and the new logo, and the general consensus is that it looks good. We hope you like it. The logo does not only represent a fresh and new beginning, but it speaks to the professionalism that members should aspire for. As part of the necessary software brand activities of the new logo, we requested and obtained from NITA a redesign of the UPRS website with a modern look and an interaction. Go to the site uprs.go.ug. If you notice, we're now on the .ug network. That's a government network. And that's because NITA allowed us. And this, the interaction, social media interactions extends to Facebook and Twitter and so on. And if you notice, there's been increased the activity of that. These channels have, as a consequence, increased interactions between UPRS, its members, and general membership of the public. The increased interaction in turn compelled us to recruit a communications consultant who enabled UPRS to continuous and daily interact daily with members of the public online. So the increased interaction is because we have someone that we have put there for that. We therefore request you, members of the General Assembly, to accept these changes. In our report, we have listed given you pictures of the new look, but you please go and look at the website and see for yourself. The audit of caretaker activities. We invited USP to conduct an audit of the CMO for the last year ending 2019 and also examine financial statements for the period of the caretaker administration. We are happy to report that the audit findings report indicate that the caretaker administration had brought tangible value to the CMO. However, the audit confirmed the queries we raised about the bookkeeping practices of the CMO and further highlighted the need for professional management of the CMO. Installation of WIPO Connect. This is a software through which the CMO should be able to handle your distributions. It performs the distribution function for the CMO. The WIPO Connect is provided by WIPO. It's free of charge. We're happy to report that because NITA provided that storage and advanced infrastructure to UPRS, we are now able to progress from WIPO course, which we had and was being phased out, to something called WIPO Connect. So that means that had NITA come to our aid, we would not be able to conduct our distribution function because WIPO course is being phased out. And the WIPO Connect, the new system, required a more advanced infrastructure for us to be able to sit on it. Departmental reports, ICT activities. I have talked about WIPO course. We have renewed our IPI, Interested Party Information Database Agreement. We have been conducting a series of cleaning up activities on the register. Those activities are ongoing. They will not stop. It's necessary that we continue. The work is quite a lot. and were of course let down by NITA's link that forced us to go back to the manual system. But as soon as it's up and running, we will be going back to that system to clean up, and we have a neat, clean register for everyone. Automation of the office. I have talked about the NITA donations. What I have not talked about is what they provided in a mobile app development, so that you can receive information about your account or the functions of the entity on your mobile. NITA also provided us a unified messaging and collaboration systems network, which allows for advanced mailing system and cloud storage for space and information backup. So the emails, if you also look at the emails that we have today, they are Uganda government emails because we're seated on the domain. I've talked about the website. I've talked about the furniture, the virtual server space. We're not saving on computer. We don't have limited space. Our server was just a simple computer, not anymore. What are the benefits of this automated process? Number one, ease of registration of members. So you don't have to come here. You can register from wherever you are. Ease of licensing. We hope that the members who are complaining that they have to come over and license, that should be easy. They should be doing it from wherever they are. Improvement of reporting as a solution to provide for data so that you can get reports from the CMO on your phone through your application. The system can self-generate these reports. Timely information about members, users, distribution, and institutional performance. You don't have to wait for URSB to come and tell you that you know, the CMO has not been functioning well because of financial mismanagement or anything like that. This time you're able to see it on yourself, for yourself. So eased access to buyers and sellers locally and international, so that if you want, it's very easy. We can do this on the system that is being developed by NITA. Activation of social media accounts. I have mentioned those. We're now active on Instagram and other things I did not know, like Flickr and I don't know, YouTube. We have also installed a fairly advanced alarm system here. So if you want to rob us, you will not be successful, which we didn't have before. From the documentation office, we have seen growth in the CMO membership. We had 2,931 registered authors and composers as of August 2019. We now have 3,096, representing a growth of 6%. Producers and publishers, we had 41 as of August 2019. We now have 52, representing a growth of 27%. And the works, we had 13,903. As of September 2020, we had 14,303, representing a growth of 3%, which is generally good, considering that we worked in a bit of turbulent time, uncertainty about the caretaker administration, whether the CMO will still exist or not, and then also adding to COVID and so on. So I think we've done fairly well. Under ordinary circumstances, we should have done even better. The member validation and verification process, data cleaning. All member files were checked to verify conformity with the all registration requirements and the presence of an application form, including biodata, declaration of works, and the deed, so on and so on. Our findings are only 838 of these were compliant. We had 21 missing application and declarations. We had 40 missing application and deed of assignments missing. We had 289 applications missing. We had 708 applications, declarations, and deeds missing. We had 809 declaration and deeds missing. We had 61 declarations missing. We had 193 deeds missing. This speaks to the need for this verification process. Please come and update your membership. it's a normal thing. Even your banks call you and ask you to update, isn't it? So it's the same thing here. Risk and legal matters, as I mentioned, we hired a voluntary legal officer whose job it is now is to look at issues of compliance, manage litigation cases, contracts, review contracts, and dispute resolution. During the caretaker administration, we had 4 suits filed against us. And these are Quality Limited versus Uganda Limited versus UPRS, civil suit number 444 of 2019. This case came up for scheduling on the 24th of August. Speak Hotel and others versus UPRS, civil suit 758 of 2019. UPRS versus VEN, civil suit 919 of 2019. Kasiva Joshua versus UPRS, miscellaneous cause 123 of 2019. These suits speak to why we need to have a legal officer here. There is need for someone to keep an eye on the legal risks that you have here. Finally, the financials, I have mentioned earlier that opening our balance as of 29th July was 7,186,958. But as of 30th August 2020, we had 167,558,050 shillings, which is a fairly good performance in considering that we have not earned money in the last 8 months because of COVID. It is likely that we're not going to have any significant revenues coming in the foreseeable future, about 6 months. And yet the entity needs money. We need to pay staff, we need to pay rent, and so on. So for those of you that think you can serve on the board, your first challenge is how to increase revenues for this entity, how to recover money, your royalties from users without antagonizing them. We need to find a manner that collects this money in a sanitized fashion. We need to find other sources of revenue amidst COVID. How do we, which donors do we talk to, which grants can we get, and so on. We need that caliber of people. Madam Chair, as that is my report, I need to again emphasize that I ask my members, you're not mine, members of this, of the society, let's be forward-looking. Let's be forward-looking. The entity can recover. I remember the figure, 10 billion, 100 billion. We will not be able to get this money or realize this potential if we are throwing mud at ourselves. We will not get this potential if you do not speak as one voice. Oh, I don't campaign. So I just need you to understand that for the errors that have been found here, you want to make a decision. Do you want to fight over yesterday, or do you want to look at the future and say the future is what I want? That decision is yours. I thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much to the caretakers, our legal advocates. You still have a ceremony to conduct.